Bam. Bam. Hey, how are you? It's Friday night, August 12th, 2022. I'm John Schenk. I'm the host of the Deerwood Realty livestream. Who's John Schenk? Well, I am a real estate broker. I'm the founder of Deerwood Realty out of St. Louis, Missouri. We help buyers buy homes and sellers sell them. Wait a minute, John, why are you talking about this stuff tonight? Well, I'll be honest with you. Every once in a while, when you see somebody get, attacked anywhere, and you have a pretty good inkling as to who the person is and what they're doing, you got to say something. And so tonight we're going to start the live stream off a little differently than normal. We're going to talk about some stuff that, I don't know, maybe it'll get me thrown off YouTube. I've been doing really well. I've got 86 subscribers now. So, I mean, that's just, for me, I think it's 86. I don't know. Let me check. Yeah, it's 86. So, I mean, if I get thrown off, is anybody going to be sad about it? No, not really. And that's okay. But I just want, people to know that some things just aren't right. And the way I see this thing, it's just not right. So I don't know how best to start on it. But if you look back at my live streams, there has been talk about two guys, Viva and Barnes. Okay. Robert Barnes is an attorney out of, I think he's out of Las Vegas, but he practices in California. All over the world, all over the United States now. But anyway, I first saw him on a tweet where he just went after a lawyer, Lynn Wood. Apparently, he was representing some of the kids. What is it? It's like the Nicholas Sandman thing. So he was representing them, and he just fired off a vicious tweet towards Lynn Wood that I saw that got retweeted. I didn't know anything else about him, and I let it go. And then when I was watching YouTube, every once in a while I'd see this guy from Canada, and he'd be like ice fishing and, I don't know, doing weird. I think he ate like an ostrich egg or something. And like those two things didn't really click for me. Okay. Like that's not something that I pay much attention to. But as things went on in the world, somehow I eventually came across a Sunday night live stream with these two guys, these two fellas. And they were just, it was during the pandemic, and they were just firing off, bomb after bomb after bomb. It was really impressive to see just dismantling of institutions and things that, that people thought were, could be believed. And they were doing it in a different way than what we've previously seen out of the political parties in the United States. Okay. So, I mean, I don't want to get too deep into politics, so we won't, I don't think. But I would just say that the things for the people, the vast majority of the people in the United States has not been going well for a while. And then other people have enriched themselves greatly. So, I mean, I don't know what to make of it. But anyway, so you wouldn't think a Canadian with, a silly YouTube channel that, where he's doing, ostrich egg eating and things of this nature, and this lawyer out of Las Vegas would click. But man, it is must watch YouTube on a Sunday night. Now, unfortunately, I haven't been able to watch like I used to, because then they went to a Wednesday night show where they had a guest, and then so we're at 2 hours on Sunday night, and we're at 2 hours on Wednesday night, and then after a while, Viva started, I think, streaming every day now. And so I have a job during the day. There's no way I can be out there watching. And so it's been interesting to watch this thing grow. It's been interesting to watch their subscribers rise. It's been interesting to kind of be a part of something. Now, I think it was in the winter, Viva ran for office in his native Canada. And I think the people that watched YouTube and even him to some degree thought, hey, I've got a chance. I've got a chance to make real change in a democratically elected place. And when the election ended, it was just a beating. It was terrible. So it didn't even come close. And so he said at the time, and it was interesting. It's like you get into these things and you actually, you want to believe. And I think that, well, he just got beat by the machine. It was no question. And you want to believe. We all want to believe. We want to believe everything good, right? I mean, everything. And so I can't fault someone with an optimistic view of life. Now, it got weird. Viva moved down to Florida, like, I don't know, a month ago. So here's a Canadian that's just moved down from Montreal and just moved to Florida. And so, all right, that's fine. And now he gets put in, I think he was at a conference last week on, so now he's been thrown into this. He's what's called a right winger. If you look at any sort of definitions of the right and the left, at least now, it makes no sense. And I just feel like in my own life, it doesn't make any sense. I am friends with people that would be considered far left and far right. But I don't know that, is that one issue? So I don't even know anymore. I don't think that the labels make any sense. I don't think they ever have. And I don't know that it matters from what politics you come from. Like, are you a good person? Are you generally good to people? Are you a good, like I would say, citizen? Are you an informed citizen? Like I don't think there should be a litmus test for what you are, what your position is. I don't think it matters. Like, I sell houses to people that are far left and far right. I don't have any problem with it. And I don't really want to know. A lot of times what'll happen is somebody will start talking to me about something and I'll just politely decline the conversation because I've never been really like ideologically in one spot. I've always kind of listened to what I listen to and see what I see and then kind of go from there. I will say that I have believed, I believed the war in Iraq was a good thing at one point in time. I couldn't believe how the State Department bungled it. I just blows my mind. After that, so that's probably what, mid 90s. It did open my eyes a little bit. Maybe a little bit later. The second one, maybe the first where they went into Kuwait anyway, that didn't sit well with me. I have people that I went to high school with that served in the military, and some of them are not in great shape. It's not good. And so, in my own world, I don't like labels, but what I especially don't like is there's been this, I don't know, like, again, I don't know if it's always happened, but I just feel like now with the media, it's odd. The media is odd. Okay. And what I wanted to go over tonight is Viva Frei streams like 2 hours a day. Gosh, he's doing like 16 hours worth of talking a week. And so, like, if you've ever talked live, if you've ever had a program where you speak, like, you can say an amazing amount of stupid things in a short period of time. You don't have to be, it's the nature of it. And so I was blown away by this situation and I want to go over it. Let me share it with you. Let's just try to go over it like it's just normal people and see what you think. And we'll go from there. Now, he does have audio, and you know that I'm terrible at tech. So here you should be on his page. And so here's the first thing that you see. It says, I don't consider myself to be right wing, but I take it as a compliment when people accuse me of being right wing. And so that's it. So I'm on Twitter this morning, and I'm looking through Twitter, and I'm following Viva Frei, and I get down to where was it? I know it was in this purple spot. Okay, here it is. Here's where it starts. So 14 hours ago, and I apologize it's taking me this long to get to it, but I worked all day, and we'll go over that too. But anyway, so somebody tweeted at him. He says, "Domestic terrorist now quote you, bravo." So let's go and see what this is about. Now, I don't. My understanding is this was on Truth Social. I don't know, but it says Ricky Schiffer, and it says, "I'm having trouble getting information, but Viva Frei, who we just talked about, said Patriots are heading to Palm Beach. I recommend going and being Florida. I think the feds won't break it up. If they do, kill them." Now that's not something I would ever tweet or truth. And says, "Oh dear, we can't resort to that, not here." And then he says, "Why not?" Now see, so the internet's a little weird place, okay? And just in my own, I get comments on my videos. I don't know who these people are, and I don't know what the context is. And so, you never know what people are thinking. You never know what they are. But what I want to impress upon you today is that in my life, it seems like we've lost the ability to have people take responsibilities for their own actions. Okay. And so like if someone does something wrong, at least when I was growing up, like if someone shot someone, okay, it was on the person who shot them. Like that's their problem. They're the ones that are the bad ones. We didn't have this, and there may be a legal precedent for it, but it wasn't in my life, this idea that you would blame someone for incitement. That didn't happen. Like, it was the person should take responsibility for what they did. But that's been what's strange. I mean, the congressional baseball game is never talked about. It's been kind of thrown under the rug, but I'm not here to get, in my opinion, too political. But what I'm saying is when one person does something wrong, it's on them. I've often been on mass shootings. I don't feel like we should ever say the person's name. I don't think we should give them what they wanted, which is that notoriety for their vicious crime. So anyway, I see that. That's 14 hours ago. Viva puts a clip, and he says what he said during the Ottawa protests. He said it before that. I've heard him. They always talk about how you never know what these people are up to. You never know if this is a plan. You never know if people are wanting to incite violence so that they can use it for their own means. None of that stuff, and you should stay away. Now, he says that in the video. And I would just say, like, look at your own lives. If you know something bad is going to happen in a particular part of town, why are you going there? This is just the obvious. This is the obvious thing. And you say, well, John, maybe that you want to stand up for, some egregious oversight or mistake or something like that. Dangerous. You don't know who's going to be there. You don't know what people, I'm not that trusting of people to believe that people aren't carrying guns and aren't trying to harm you. There's some pretty terrible people out there. So anyway, I wanted to get kind of on this. So it says, so he plays this, and so that's 14 hours ago. And then it says, apparently, and then somebody else writes, apparently he was an avid listener. He listened to what you said and made a decision based on what you were saying. And so apparently this is exactly why violence is not the solution. Bad faith actors out in full force, exploiting the unlawful acts of a disturbed individual for their political gain to suppress dissent and defame critics of government abuse, which I think that's true. I don't think that's a right wing or a bad thing to say. So it goes on. It says, I don't know, like, have you seen the memes with like people that look like they're feds at certain things and causing issues? I have. It's weird. Okay. So then you go here, and it's like he defends himself again. And now what I wanted to do with this is we saw in the Kavanaugh confirmation, we saw the media say Kavanaugh must be guilty because he's defending himself and he's angry. And they said that's not a natural reaction to, an innocent person. It's just like the argument lately that I see is like, well, if someone has, if the apparatus of the intelligentsia, if they are, if they are after you, then somehow, how should I put it? There must, where there's smoke, there's fire. And I mean, if you've even been close to paying attention the past couple of years, you should be able to tell that that's a dicey proposition. So then we go through, and obviously there's stuff on here that's not related to it, but it says, then this woman, Rachel Gilmore, I don't know who she is. She says, Viva Frei is now accusing people of exploiting the incident to try and wrongly demonize him. And says the alleged gunman, according to USA Today article, says he was having trouble getting information, but said patriots are. And so I pulled up the USA Today article. And it says, this is what the post posted on, I believe it was true. It says, I'm having trouble getting information, but Viva Frei said patriots are heading to Palm Beach, where Mar-a-Lago is. I recommend them going, and being Florida, I think the feds won't break it up. They will to kill them. Viva, and then in parentheses, Viva Frei is a right-wing YouTube personality. Now, you can listen to it. You can go to, I'll link to the Twitter page. He didn't say go down there and do stupid things. I mean, it's here. Okay. And again, you have, there's no incitement here. This is one person made stupid decisions. Okay. And so then this Luke LeBron comes in and he says, according to USA Today, the gunman who attacked the FBI in Cincinnati said he was, I don't want to mess up his quote. I can get rid of that. According to USA Today, the gunman who attacked the FBI in Cincinnati said he was getting info from a Canadian YouTuber's channel prior to the attack. The YouTuber was a People's Party candidate last year and live streamed the Ottawa convoy. This is not false. The YouTuber was a People's Party candidate last year, and he did live stream from the Ottawa convoy. That's not wrong. This here is a little dicey. According to the USA Today, we read that the gunman who attacked the FBI in Cincinnati today said he was getting his info from a Canadian YouTuber's channel prior to the attack. I don't know. I don't see it that way. And then this I did think was interesting. This was like the Kavanaugh defense. It says, you engage, which must mean you are worried. So what are you supposed to do if someone, let's use defame not as a legal term, but just as a general term, what are you supposed to do when someone comes at you? You have two choices. You can either pretend that it doesn't happen or, confront the situation head on. Like for me, if I have to go back, like I told you earlier, I talked about Viva when he ran for the People's Party candidate in Montreal. I did that. I talked about it on a live stream. Do I know which one? I live stream pretty much every day or every other day for the most part. I have no idea where it is. And I literally have a full-time job. Like, when am I going to have time to even search for the records anyway? But it's there. It's there. So, in this case, is he not supposed to engage? Is he not supposed to pull up video that shows that he clearly didn't incite anything? Or is he just supposed to let it happen? I think this gets down to like who you are as a person, your very being. Okay. Do you accept when people just make up all kinds of stuff about you, or do you fight back? I don't know. All I'm saying is I don't think there's anything wrong with putting your views out. In fact, we must be thankful in this whole thing. We have to take some chance of being looking at things with gratitude. Number one, I never would have known who Viva Frei is. I never would have known who Robert Barnes is without YouTube. I never would have known who they were without Twitter. These technological platforms, this ability to do stuff. I mean, in the 80s, there's no way I had a phone in my pocket. That would have just been so it would have, first of all, it would have been plugged into a wall. There's no wireless when I was growing up. So to get to this point, I mean, we've evolved. Some people think we've devolved, and I do too in some things. But if the media wanted to crush you in the 80s, you were done. You were done. Do we remember Jimmy the Greek? I mean, I'm not saying that what he did was right, but man, that guy got wiped off the screen quickly. And so here he plays it again. It says, nice of him to come out after the fact and tell his followers that followers is not the answer. He didn't do that. If you listen to the clip the day before, he said, be careful. This may not be a good idea. And so I just wanted to take some time. And then even then, this kind of stuff, you have followers, you have people that believe in you. And then, she, one of these women, puts up what she's been written. And, I mean, vicious, right? Vicious. But again, Viva's like, hey, don't do this kind of stuff. Just don't do it. Don't engage with these people. And I think that's the best. I think that's the best way. That's the best way. So I don't know. I just felt it was important. I mean, if I hadn't watched, I've watched hours of Viva and Barnes. Okay. And if you haven't, to have someone just say all this random stuff that isn't really true. I mean, one of the things I don't think Viva got the vaccine. I mean, that's not a right-wing position, I don't think. I don't want to go over his other stuff, but I've heard him talk about other things that would be left-right in at least the United States. Some of his views, I think, are left. I mean, if we're going to use that label. So what's the bottom line? What am I trying to get to? I don't want to be led around like sheep. Okay. We used to be taught in school, you need to do critical thinking. You need to do critical analysis. You need to if you want to know something, you need to kind of take advantage of media and learn exactly what's going on. Now, this is very difficult in practice. If you've ever looked at a ballot in an election, they will word the ballot in such a way that you think you're reading it, and it's like, well, what am I supposed to? What's going on here? I mean, the wording is so confusing and so crazy. You could end up voting for something that you're totally against, but you're voting for it just because the text is so crazy. But I mean, before an election, you should be able to go, we used to do it in newspapers. They used to write all, at least there used to be some varying opinion on what each proposal was, and you could learn about it. And we also, when I was a kid, we talked about sources. Okay. So a primary source was given more weight than an unnamed source or a secondhand source. That was just the way it was. And it seemed to make sense then. It still does. So in this case, I've watched maybe hundreds of hours of Viva and Barnes. And if you're trying, if you think that is the far right, I have news for you. That's maybe center. Maybe. So anyway, what would I say? I would just implore all of you to do your own research. Don't let tribal alliances cloud your judgment and cloud your thinking. That's all I can say. I mean, and now I will relate it to my business a couple of ways. One, I think I heard this from Adam Carolla one time, and I think he's right. I think the hardest place to be is in the middle, is in the center. I mean, if you're on the right, the far right, you have a built-in audience. If you're on the far left, you have a built-in audience. Okay. If you're in the center, you got no audience. You got nothing. Right doesn't like you and the left doesn't like you, and you're stuck. But you should be able to keep from getting stuck in the groupthink. You should be able to keep from getting stuck in the tribalism if you can just accept, what's going on. So how does this relate to me selling houses? Well, number one, I don't want to bring my politics to buying and selling a home. My politics don't matter. They really don't. I'm not the one buying the house and I'm not the one selling the house. Now, what would I do? I'll just put it out there. If I were representing a seller and they wanted me to represent them, and inside their house they had violent posters that were, gory, and they depicted images of politicians on either side of the aisle in a way that is not great. Okay. Well, I would tell them, hey, we want to try and get this house in front of as many people as possible. Let's cool it on this stuff. Let's not, and I don't care which side you're on. I have been in houses and I have shown houses where buyers will literally find something in the house that is contrary to their own politics and say, I will not give this seller the pleasure of giving them my money, my hard-earned money, because of their terrible views. Now you say, this is crazy, John. No one ever does that. I'm telling you, I'm represented buyers that have done this. Okay. It's not crazy, and it happens a lot more often than you think. Let me just give you another hint. It doesn't happen as much now, but when you have a big library in your house and you have all these books, and if you think people aren't reading those books, the titles, when they're going through a walkthrough, these people that are trying to buy your house want to know who you are. They want to know everything about you. And so am I for book banning? No. Okay. But as a listing agent, if I see like a lot of incendiary stuff that I'm aware of, now understand, I don't know every book that's ever been written. Okay. I would not hesitate to sell somebody, hey, put some of those books in the back shelf where it's a little bit more difficult to see. Okay. And that's on either side. Don't get confused. The reason why is I will always believe that the more exposure that your home gets, the better chance you have of selling the house. Okay. And we would like good exposure. My opinion, good exposure. And so you say, well, John, I don't like, let's say somebody I was talking to, they say, John, I don't think that this is incendiary. Well, okay. All right. Again, you're the owner of the house, you're listing it. And if you think that this is a good idea, go for it. I'm just telling you that I think that there would be some people that might take offense to it. In a strong housing market, do you care? No, because somebody will probably buy the house anyway. I mean, the principles only go so far when you need to buy a house and a place to live. But working with buyers and sellers that have different political beliefs than I do. Well, number one, I try not to put my political beliefs out there because I don't think that benefits anyone. If you want me on your team, we're going to have a problem because I'm about as much of a loner as you can be. I do my own thing. We're not on the same team. We're on a team of helping you buy a house. We're on a team of helping you sell a house. But other than that, we're not. You can have your views. I mean, seriously. And this is also, we've talked about this in the past, is to say, John, would you sell your house? Would you represent a seller that was a murderer, a convicted murderer? Well, I don't know. Do they own a house? And are they able to sell it? Then yes. It's not for me to make judgment calls on my client. Now, if the murderer threatens to murder me, okay. If the murderer says, if you don't sell this house within a week, you're going in the ground. Okay. Well, then maybe I'm not going to list the house because that's just not a person I want to work with because they're not treating me with any sort of respect and they're trying to murder me. So as it relates to Viva Frei, if you're reading an article in a newspaper or on the internet, or you're reading a tweet and someone makes a claim like you're a far right winger, or that this person listened to what you said and then went out and committed a crime, step back. what really happened. Go find the sources yourself and come up with your own conclusion. You may be right. You may, the person that you're reading the tweet from may be right and may be wrong, but only you can really find that truth. And so I'm just going to leave it at that. We need to move to the space that says, if you commit a crime, it's on you. Okay. It's not on anybody else. It's on you. Committed the crime. It's you. That would go a long way. If we have some responsibility, that would go really, really far. So that's all I'm going to say about that. If I get banned from YouTube, I'm sorry. I don't think it should be that controversial what happened. So that's where I'm at. Let's move on. I wanted to tell you about something that happened. I'm going to go here because I don't even believe it myself. And this is one of those things where I'd like you to understand there are still good people in this world. Let me tell you, this happened to me tonight. I've had my real estate license, and you can laugh at me. It's totally fine. I'm so embarrassed. I've had my real estate license since 2009. I've shown thousands of houses in St. Louis. Does it make me an expert at showing houses? Maybe. I don't have thousands of sales to show for all that work, or weekends gone or nights gone, but I've shown a lot of houses. And tonight, the unthinkable happened. I was meeting up with some clients that I know. I had to park in a certain way because it was a condominium complex. It was villas, so one shared wall construction. And where I parked, I got out of the car. I said hello to my clients. I saw the real estate sign. I had checked the address, and the house that we were going to go see, the garage door was open and there was a person standing in their garage working. And I thought to myself right at that moment, there's no way that person is showing their house, because you would never want to show your house in that condition. So it must be this house. So I just turned right, walked up to the door, put in the code that I was given. It didn't work. Tried it again because it was one of those doorknobs that has the special, you can just press a key code. Didn't work. So I was like, well, I guess I'll just go get the Supra. So I got the Supra, opened it up, opened the door, walked in with my buyers, got about, through the hallway. And then I hear this man say, "What the hell are you doing?" And I'm like, he's up at the top of the stairs. And so I go, "Oh, hi, I'm just showing your house. Maybe you didn't get the notification." He goes, "This house is sold." I said, "What?" He's like, "You're at the wrong house." I was like, "Are you kidding me?" Now, we had a story about a TikTok video about a real estate agent in New York, I believe it was, that showed the wrong house. And I thought at the time, I was like, that makes me very uncomfortable, because if it ever happens to me, I'm going to just be a wreck. Well, it happened to me tonight. Now, what do? You're with your clients. You look like an idiot. I did the only thing I could do. I said, "Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. I'm going to show myself out." So I left, locked the door, and went about my way and showed the next house, which was the next house was the lady outside in her garage packing stuff. And I said, "I'm sorry, I have a showing for this time." And she's like, "No, you don't." And I was like, Are you kidding? This is the worst run of house showings I've ever had. "What do you mean I don't have a showing on this house?" She's like, "I've not been notified that you're supposed to see this house." I'm like, is somebody just playing a very mean trick on me? So I said, "Well, let me show you on my email, because I've got the confirmation." I said, "It's right here." I mean, I looked it up because at this point I was shaking from what was just one of the most stupid things I've ever done. And she's like, "Oh yeah, you do have. Well, go ahead and go in. Go ahead and see the house. I'm sorry, it's kind of a mess. We're moving." And like, this isn't unusual, okay? And by the way, at the other house, it's not unusual to get showing instructions where they're like, it's on a combo box, and then the combo box isn't there, and it's a Supra, which is, what we used to get in. It's not unusual for there to be a code and there to be no lockbox on the property. I mean, that was not going to be my point. And you may say, well, John, there was a sign in the yard. Wouldn't that be your clue? Do you know how many? I mean, again, all the houses look the exact same. These villas, I mean, they look exactly the same, every single one of them. And the address is right on the top. And I just missed. But anyway, looked at that house. Beautiful house. I'm sure it's going to sell this weekend. Went down the street and across the street to show the next house. I mean, because there's like four or five listings in this neighborhood. It's just, looked at that house, came home, and then we had a decision to make. What do? You've just done the most awful thing that you can do as a real estate. Well, not really. There's lots of awful things you can do as a real estate agent. But anyway, you've done something wrong. And so what I did, which I think should have been done, I emailed the listing agent and I apologized for my actions. And I took full responsibility. And I said, look, I've been a real estate agent since 2009. I've never done this. I'm absolutely mortified by what happened. And I'm very sorry. I'm just very sorry about what's happened. And I apologize. And I'm just mortified. And that was the right thing to do, to take responsibility. And then in a show of grace, compassion, and humility, the listing agent emailed me back and said, I totally understand. It was an honest mistake. I talked to the seller and everything's good. And boy, I appreciate that. Now, contrast that to the society in which we live now. That TikTok video, that literally could have been me tonight. I literally could have gone viral on a TikTok video for showing a house that wasn't for sale. It was for sale. It was just under contract. And so, I'm thankful for a number of things. One, I didn't get shot for breaking into a house. Number two, my clients didn't get shot for breaking into a house. Number three, I'm thankful I'm thankful that the seller and the listing agent, were understanding and not filming me while I was in the house. That was terrible. I'm glad they didn't publicize it. I'm the one that's doing it now. So you can make fun of me. I feel like I deserve it. I can't tell you how stupid I feel on that one. It's just absolutely a joke. But I feel like real estate is a very humbling career. For instance, like right now, I have houses under contract. They're not sold because they haven't closed. And you're never going to see me write a text that says like, oh, we're in the clear, everything's great. I don't believe that. The only time I'll see that, because I think it's a jinx. And so the only time I believe that something's closed and been successfully closed is when the check actually comes to my bank account. And then even then I wait a couple days, a couple weeks, a couple months, because you could get sued. You could have somebody upset. You could have any number of different things. So even though you get your check, you have to kind of couch, what's going on. So that I did that today, showed a house that, like I said, wasn't mine. I'm going to give you a rundown of my day. The next thing that I did was I have some buyers in Colorado. I happened to just have two families that were in Colorado. We got one house under contract for one couple, and now we're working on the other house. And I did something that I don't usually do, and we can talk about it. Is there was a listing. They said, we'd really like to see this house. They said, we'll fly in to look at it. And I said, no, let's couch this a little bit. Number one, the people are a decent earning couple, but they're not millionaires. They're not flying in on like a private jet. I mean, don't kid yourself. Number two, it's not that expensive. What they're looking for isn't that expensive, and they have a very specific reason why they want a particular type of house in a particular price range, which I don't really think is appropriate to discuss on a live stream. But what I'm saying is, just don't think that they're jet setters or anything like that. These are normal people, and people I've known for a long time. They used to live in town. So anyway, what I did was something that I tried many years ago and failed at it miserably. So let's go over it. So one time I had a listing where I know it sounds weird, but I'm camera shy. In public, I hate to have my phone out. I hate to take video or anything. I would be very uncomfortable being videoed. It doesn't bother me on a live stream because, first of all, there's not very many people that are ever watching. And, I look at this as kind of my job or an extension of it. So it doesn't really. But for me in my personal life, to be filming stuff outside or even taking pictures it's just not who I am. But anyway, like 3 years ago, maybe even 5 years ago, maybe even longer, I had a phone, and it wasn't a great phone. And I had some buyers that wanted to see a house. And so I took video of the house. But I don't know if you've ever seen the Blair Witch Project. I don't know when it came out anymore. I realize I'm dating myself by saying it, but that video was so terrible. And at the time, I didn't know anything about video. So I didn't know how to really take clear video. I didn't know how to edit video. I didn't know how to do anything. So a lot of it's just me just showing most of the ground, because we didn't have things like that. It wouldn't have been as clear that long ago. Anyway, I'm sporting like an iPhone 13 now on one of my phones. And I mean, it takes gorgeous pictures at times. I can't believe it. It takes beautiful video. And so what I did is I walked the property as I would as an agent, and I walked it as if I would had clients. Now, if you know my style, you know that I believe that you should look at many, many houses before you make a decision in a specific area. And that will be giving you the best chance of buying a home that you can feel that you bought at a good value, and that made sense for you, and you can eliminate buyer's remorse. And so why would that be any different for somebody that's been out of town? Now, one thing I've seen a lot of people talk about during the pandemic is they say that they went on virtual tours. I provide virtual tours for all my houses, all my listings. They say that they did like a FaceTime with their agent. And I would just say that on FaceTime as an agent, like this particular house was a Tudor home built in the 1920s. There was plaster and then brick. My reception inside the home was probably 2 bars. Now I'm doing Messenger or I'm doing FaceTime, 600, 800 miles away. The chances that they're going to get a clear video of what is the condition of the home is not great. And don't kid yourself. Some agents can use that to their advantage. They'll say, oh, this house is great, you should put an offer on it. I'm not that agent. I want you to see everything that's in a house so that you make a comfortable decision. And so I literally filmed the whole house. Now you say, well, John, that would have taken forever. No, I did it as if I was walking through the house like I would. It normally takes me as an agent about 10 minutes to walk through an entire house to know whether or not I'd put an offer in on it. For me personally, my buyers, many of them, within the first 30 seconds, they say, of walking in a home, or even 15, people know if they're going to write an offer on something. I do believe that's true. When you do staging, you always talk about how you want the first room they walk into to be the best room, because that's when they're going to make up their mind. Now, I walked it and I narrated it, and it took 10 minutes and like 30 seconds. Okay. The picture was very, very clear. That's why I wanted to do that rather than FaceTime, because the picture was very clear. And I did not shake a whole lot. The image stabilization on my phone is just wonderful now. I just can't believe it. And as my narration, I didn't even have a boom mic or, I just spoke into the phone, and it was fantastic. It was fantastic. So I sent that off to my buyers, and I said, here's, and they had questions, and I let them, ask the questions, but I answered the questions on the video. And then they called me about 8:00 tonight and said, John, we really appreciate you showing us this property. The video was great. We're going to pass because of X, Y, and Z. Well, the reason why they're going to pass is it looks like the neighbor is a hoarder, and that's totally okay. I get it. And I don't feel put out. And they said, we're not going to make you video like every property or anything like that. And this happened to me tonight too, even with the buyers. They said, hey, we know you have a family, and we don't want to take up all your time showing houses. But again, I'm a buyer's agent. I've shown thousands of houses, and this is kind of my job. It's kind of now, it's not my job to show you houses if you're never going to buy a house. That's not it. It's not my job to play tour guide. So like, if you can't afford a $300,000 house, then we're not looking at $300,000 houses. And to be respectful of my time is simply, if we have a showing at a certain time and you're there within 5 to 10 minutes of the time, we're good. But don't cancel appointments on me all the time. Don't that waste my time because I still have to set appointments. Still have to get confirmations. So don't do that. That's not good. But just if you want to see a home, I'll show a house. If you're qualified to see a house, if you're pre-qualified, if you can afford a house, we're going to go look at it. Because when I was not an agent and when I was looking for my house, I was uncomfortable with the process, all of it. I didn't really like it. And I especially didn't like the idea that, you would see a limited number of houses and then make a decision. I wanted to see every house that was available. And I think as I've said tonight, I think that's the best thing you can do. And so that's what I do now. I would take video, for me to shoot a house takes 10 minutes. Literally, I can do a 2,000 square foot house in 10 minutes. And that's with an upstairs, if there's an attic or something, and with a basement and outside. I mean, I can do it so efficiently. In fact, when I show houses, I usually allot 30 minutes per house. Sometimes you take more, sometimes you take less based on the interest of the home buyer. Let me get a drink. But that's my job. That's my job. And it doesn't bother me. I'm kind of happy to take a video tour because I want you to see what I'm seeing. I think that when you look at the pictures of a listing online, come on, we all know that those are not what the house really looks like. If you do get a listing that you see online and the pictures are fairly representative of the property, that you can have confidence in writing an offer on that home because the listing agent isn't trying to bluff, isn't trying to lie. They're just like, this is the house. We feel confident in it, and you should too. Come and make an offer. That's the way it should be, in my opinion. So anyway, that's what I did with that. One more story that I wanted to tell you that I haven't told you because I've been a little bit confused by it. I was listing a house and I got a phone call from someone. And when you're listing a house and it's a popular house in this market, you're getting texts, you're getting emails, you're getting phone calls, and you're just like, to be a good agent, you have to respond to these people in a timely manner. Agents, unrepresented buyers, whoever, you need to be responsive. And I got this call and the person said, hey, would you let me know? My name is so-and-so. It was like a Cleveland or something, zip code or area code. Like, could you give me a call and tell me what you know about this property and give me an address? And I was like, sure, I'd be happy to. When I got the voicemail. So I looked up the property. It was a property that was currently under contract. I called him back and I said, hey, unfortunately this house is under contract. Would you, is there some other house I could help you with? Because that's what I'm a real estate agent. And I'm sorry that house was sold, but there's always another house. And he said, what do you think about it? And I said, well, they think pretty highly of it because it's priced for like $60,000 more than any other house in the neighborhood. And it was a rental. And he said, really? I said, yeah, I see it in the records right here. He's like, okay, well, let me tell you something. I'm the buyer of the house. And I was like, okay, why are you calling me? He said, my real estate agent thinks that it's been a rental and we think that the person's not being truthful about it. And I'm like, dude, why are you calling me? Like, you've got an agent. Okay. You've now made a judgment about the house. Like, you think it's a rental, but you think that they're not being, why are you talking to me about this? Like, what makes you think I want to be involved in this? Why are you taking my time? He said, well, I saw your website and your listings were presented different than everybody else's. And so I just thought that you would be able to tell me the answers that I was looking for. And I'm like, that's just weird. That's just weird. If I ever had a buyer, okay, that called listing agents about properties they don't even own or they don't even have a listing for, I think that buyer was pretty weird. There's nothing wrong with wanting to know more about the property. It's how you do it. It's just like that lady that was looking at property for her son. Don't represent yourself as an unrepresented buyer. There's no reason to lie. You're wasting my time. Just say, hey, I want to waste your time. What do you think of this house? Like, I think in some ways, okay, Like, I'll just try to, I have some friends. Okay. I have some friends and some acquaintances that if they ask me for a favor, I'd be more than happy to give them an answer or help them, because I know that down the road, if I needed something, they'd be more than happy to help me. That's when you know what friends, who's your friends. And if they ask me like, hey, John, I'm going to buy a house. First of all, if it's not with me, we're probably not friends, because what the hell? Well, I mean, seriously, like what the hell? Anyway, but if they're like, hey, John, I'm not going to buy a house, but I'm interested in this listing. Would you tell me more about it? Absolutely. Absolutely. Of course I would. Okay. And I feel like that's what this guy was missing. He's like asking me for a favor when there's no chance of him ever returning the favor. So that's why he brought it, that's why he pretended to be a buyer. But again, even then, all he would have had to do was say, he could have called and said, hey, I saw your name on a website. Can you tell me, I've got this house under contract. Can you tell me a little more about it? What do you think? You think it's a good idea? And I would tell him. I wouldn't have any problem with that. Don't ask me any more than that. Don't ask me to go to the house and take a video of it. One of the sneaky things that used to happen in real estate, and I don't know if it still does, because, I've got my own brokerage and I don't sell things the way other brokerages do, but it used to be houses would sit on the market for months. Okay. And like 30 days on the market was nothing. I mean, we're looking at like 60 days. And so what a lot of agents would do, which I thought was funny at the time, I don't know what I think about it now, is say you have a listing and no one's gone to the listing for like 2 weeks. Okay. And your seller's like, dude, how are you going to sell this house when no one's coming to look at it? And then you don't want to lose the listing. And so you're like, you know what? You're right. I don't know. This is weird. So then you call your agent friends and you say, hey, I need a favor. I got this listing and no one's walked through it. Would you walk through the house? Yeah, I'll walk through the house. I'll walk through the house for you. Yeah, no problem. No problem. And then make sure you understand, like, when I need that too, if I need that, I've never needed it, but if I did, hey, maybe bring a buyer through the house. That's reciprocal. I don't have any problem with that. Now, I've gotten, how do I put this? Like I said, I have my license since 2009. I don't get too intimidated by agents anymore. Like, I don't even care. Like, if somebody lists a house that, if they beat me in the listing, I don't care. It doesn't do me any good to worry about it. I mean, it just, so that's something. Also, it makes it pretty easy to be friends with people that are other agents. Because what are the odds that we're going to go to the same listing, first of all? Or what are the odds that they're going to be a buyer and they're going to decide between either of us? That's not going to happen. And even if it did, I have this one broker friend who has helped me in my career the entire time. If we went on a listing call and he won the listing and he did it fairly, like he didn't throw me under a bus, and I would never be mad. In fact, I would say to the sellers, hey, okay, that's fine. I get it. I understand. He's a great guy. Totally cool. Now, that doesn't happen a lot with other people because they get kind of squirrely. All right. Well, I got to do some real estate talk, right? We did talk about the worst mistake I made. We talked about Viva Frei. Let's get into one article. I just want to go over one article tonight. Interest rates, I'm not going to pull it up, but let's just say they went up 5.33%. If I gleeked a little bit there, I apologize. I wanted you to see this article because I don't know what to make of it. Oh, I have to hit the right button so that you can know what to make of it. Okay. This was on CNBC, and I just, like, you guys are out there. You help me. You help me. Tell me what I'm missing. Okay? We'll go through it. It says, let me get to it. It says, as climate change threatens more homes, some properties are getting too costly to insure. So this is it's like it's a known fact that climate change is threatening more homes. Like, let me just put this precedent out there. Do you remember the Dust Bowl in the 20s? Do you remember the Grapes of Wrath, where he literally writes about, the dust and it's just a terrible situation? I think the word climate change has been one of those words that's been co-opted to mean a bunch of different things, but you're not exactly sure what. So, for instance, let's take a swamp, okay? And let's say somebody in the 1960s built 1,000 homes on top of the swamp, okay? And let's say that now some of those foundations are sinking into the swamp, and the swamp is kind of reverting back to a swamp. Now, is that climate change doing that? Not to me. That's because you built on a swamp. Let's look at another one. Let's say you've got this beautiful river, okay? And you have these people that want to live next to the river. So you build all these beautiful houses along this river. Well, every 100 years, the river flows out of its banks and all the houses are destroyed. Is that climate change? I mean, you literally put houses next to a river. Like, how is that going to work out? Let's talk about St. Louis. The New Madrid Fault. I believe it changed the course of the Mississippi River. What do we make of that? If there's an earthquake and houses are destroyed, is that climate change? Like, did we cause the earthquake? Did fracking cause the earthquake? Or did it? I mean, do we know? Would we ever have certainty? So is that climate change? It's not. What about that wonderful lake in California, the Great Salt Lake, where they built all those houses and then it became salty and killed everything? And you can't build there. Was that climate change? See, I don't discount the idea that the climate changes over time. I mean, in my own thoughts, St. Louis's weather does not seem to be the same as it was when I was a kid. It seems to be warmer. I mean, just for me, it seems to be warmer past December, and that was never the case. It used to get cold around November. Now it doesn't get cold until January, and then January through March, pretty nasty. A couple weeks there, pretty cold. But anyway, so I just understand. I'm not a denier. I'm not an acceptor. I don't know if that makes me right or left wing. I don't know any of these things. But it says, as climate change threatens more homes, some properties are getting too costly to insure. Now let's talk about that. Are the properties too costly to insure? Not because of climate change, but because of the fact that houses are more expensive. I mean, home prices have gone up 35 and 40%. It's the same thing with car prices. The Jeep Grand Wagoneer, I think, is coming in at $100,000. Well, damn, it used to be a supercar didn't even cost $100,000. Now we're taking a family SUV and making it $100,000. So perhaps that's why. I mean, are they going to blame climate change on insuring automobiles, being more expensive? I don't know, but they could write the article and it would make sense. I mean, you think you could do it. It says, as climate change threatens, this is the key points, threatens the U.S. with more natural disasters. So there's an argument that says, I just reject that out of hand. If you build houses everywhere, okay, where there once weren't houses, if something bad happens, it's not because of climate change as much as natural disasters happen, and you're in a space where they happened. And there's more houses there now than there used to be. It says it's becoming increasingly costly for Americans to insure their homes, experts say. Well, who are these experts? Are they insurance? I mean, if you're an insurance agent, okay, and you're going to raise someone's rates, what's one of the easiest ways to do that? Either say that the government is forcing me to, or that it's climate change. I mean, climate change will get you out of every problem. It's just like Rona got you out of going to social events you didn't want to go to. Hey, can you come over for barbecue tonight with me and my homies? No, man, I got the Rona. I can't go. No, man, I don't want to go because I might get the Rona. Oh, all right. Now it's climate change. And I don't mean that, I don't want to dismiss, it's like, oh, look, my house is burning down because there's like 100 of them where there never were any. It says homeowners insurance premiums rose by 12.1% nationwide compared to 1 year ago, but surges have been higher in disaster-prone states, according to Policy Genius. So what's a disaster-prone state? A whole state is a disaster-prone? Also, again, how do you get insurance premiums raising only 12.1% when home prices rose like 40%? Shouldn't insurance premiums rise by about the same because it's going to cost the same to insure them? But a disaster-prone state, I hope they define that because I have no idea. It says, as climate change threatens the U.S. with more natural disasters. I disagree. I mean, I'm not trying to be a jerk, but it may, I mean, I don't even know what that means. What is it? It's threatening the U.S. like it's threatening our republic. I'm not trying to be dumb either. I'm not trying to be, tell me what that doesn't even make any sense. It says it's becoming increasingly costly for Americans to insure their home, and it's only expected to get worse. Well, I just believe that the higher the prices are for houses, the higher the sale prices are, the higher the insurance will be. And that should be true with cars. But let's go. It says these things are occurring more often and they're causing more damage. Are they? It says Jeremy Porter, Chief Research Officer at First Street Foundation, a nonprofit focused on defining U.S. climate risk. So are these people unbiased? Indeed, there were 20 separate billion-dollar U.S. natural disasters in 2021, including a deep freeze, wildfires, flooding, tornado outbreaks, and other severe weather, costing a total of $145 billion, according to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. Now, look, again, if house prices are more expensive, like New Orleans, like when that was Katrina, that was bad. That, don't get me wrong. But the houses were also expensive. And the same thing here. I mean, if like my own subdivision used to be, you buy a house in the subdivision, 1,400 square foot house for more than $200,000 with a single car garage, you're an idiot. Now we're seeing people buy houses in this subdivision, single car garage, 270, 280, two car garage, you're looking at like 300, 330. And it's $100,000 difference. There's, I believe, 280 houses in my subdivision. I mean, do the math. It's going to be more expensive. It says the uptick in costly climate event. Now, by the way, no offense. Deep freeze. And we've always had winter. Wildfires. Now, wildfires is an odd one. I don't really understand. I've heard people say that we're not managing our forest correctly. I don't know anything about it. I don't feel like I'm able to talk about that. Flooding. Well, we had a flood, and we were talking about it today. I think it was around 1994, 1995, and it was a significant flood. Okay. We had other flooding in different parts of the city. Maybe 4 or 5 years ago. That didn't make any sense. Tornado outbreaks. I don't understand. Like, we're in a heavy tornado area. And have you ever seen Have you ever seen a tornado's destruction? It's quite interesting. The tornado, you think it would like go straight and take out like every house in a block. Well, it doesn't. It kind of moves around. And so you can have a house that's perfect in one spot, and then the house right next to it has been blown to the ground. It's crazy. And then other severe weather, so like rain and thunderstorms. Like we had literally 2 weeks ago now, we had more rainfall over a 24-hour period than like ever. Something along the orders of like 9 inches. It did cause damage to low-lying areas. There's no question. But was it climate that did that? I mean, in theory, it was weather. Can you change this headline to say, as weather threatens more homes, some properties are getting too costly to insure? Yes. Yes, you could do that. It says the uptick in costly climate events combined with rising costs to rebuild, labor shortages and demand surges after natural disasters have triggered higher homeowner insurance premiums, which I think is fair, except for the uptick in costly climate events. I think there were always climate events. We're seeing drastic increases, says Pat Howard, managing editor and licensed home insurance expert at Policy Genius. Okay, so let's watch this. So why are we seeing drastic increases? I have submitted to you that we're seeing drastic home increases because the home prices have gotten higher. That's just what I believe. But what if insurance companies, in dealing with their shareholders, say, hey, we need to make more money. We're going to raise our rates so that we can have a higher profit. And then we're going to use climate change as the backdrop to do that so that no one's the wiser. Do you think that could happen? Am I a conspiracy theorist for thinking that might happen? I mean, it's just another way to explain the cost increases. It says the average increase is 12. Okay, some 90%. I'm sorry, I missed the spot. Some 90% of U.S. homeowners saw premiums jump from May of 2021 to 2022, costing an average of $134 more per year, according to a Policy Genius report. Now, look, I don't even care. That doesn't even make any sense. $134 per year. I mean, if you've got, and look, here's one that we learned yesterday. I have some friends that brought a brand new home. It's 1 year old. They own a house that's built in the 80s, so 30 years old. The house that was built in the 80s, the insurance is higher than the house that they just bought by like $1,000 a year. Doesn't make any sense, does it? Well, no, it turns out that newer houses don't need as much insurance as old. They don't need, the risk isn't as high. That's what they say. Okay, it says the average increase is 12.1% nationwide compared to 1 year ago, but surges have been higher in disaster-prone areas like Arkansas, Washington, and Colorado. But let me go over this with you. I think last year the biggest disaster that I knew of was that unexpected one. It was the climate change or weather one. It was the freezing in Texas. And like they'd stopped using their petroleum preserves and went to windmills, and that didn't work at the power company. I don't know if that's true. But I'm just saying, like, is that possible? Like, I don't know what happened in Arkansas this year. I don't know what happened in Washington. I don't know in Colorado, but what about that Lake Mead is going down in Las Vegas? Isn't that like a problem? Brad Wright, a certified financial planner and managing partner of Launch Financial Planning, said erosion. Now, what is this guy doing? Said erosion and rising sea levels are growing concerns for clients interested in coastal properties. Okay, well, I can't afford a coastal property, never have been able to. And I just don't even know what to say to that. It's like people buy houses in Florida and then they're surprised when there's a hurricane. When someone considers buying a home along the beaches of southern Maine, for example, because I'm in the middle of St. Louis, Missouri, and I can really afford a home along the beaches of southern Maine. For example, there's always questions about flood risk and the cost of insuring the property. Depending on the answers, they may choose another home. Look, if you're buying a beach house in southern Maine, okay, you got money. You've got a job. So now we're talking about a group of people that I don't know these people. These are not my people. When you can buy a beach house in southern Maine, okay, and you're going to complain about the fact that there's higher insurance, that's bizarre to me. Let's just leave that there. Still, owners may unknowingly purchase or own in flood-prone areas. While the Federal Emergency Management Agency identified 8 million properties at risk for 1 in the 100-year flooding, First Street found nearly double the amount in a report. Now, there have been discussions online on the interwebs that people are buying properties like from HUD and FEMA and not realizing they're in a floodplain until it's too late. Now, if you've got a real estate agent and your agent doesn't tell you that you're in a floodplain, like, that's stupid, because at least in our MLS, you can purchase a flood letter, okay? And it says it right on the listing. In fact, you have the option to walk from a house in a normal contract based on whether or not the house is in a floodplain. Like, that's true through the whole deal. Now, I don't have any sympathy for people that are buying houses without agents. That's your own fault. I mean, there is a reason why you hire a buyer's agent. It's to look out for stuff like that. People come to me all the time. I've got a video. I'm not going to link it because I'm lazy. It's like, should I buy a house in a floodplain? Well, no. They're like, well, it's cheaper. Well, no, it's not, because you got to pay for flood insurance, and that's more expensive. Plus, just think about your life, okay? Let's say there's a house for $160,000 and there's a house for $150,000. The house in $160,000 is not in a flood zone, and the house for $150,000 is. Why in the world would you buy the house in the flood zone? You're going to pay more for insurance, okay? And when you do flood, you're going to lose everything. Versus just buying the $160,000 house and not worrying about it. It's like, that's like an unforced error. It's a risk that's not worth taking. But people do, and I don't know that that's climate change. It says standard homeowners insurance policies don't cover flooding. That's true. But production is available through FEMA or private coverage, which may be required by the mortgage lenders, which is true. While the average yearly premium is $985, experts say the cost may be significant greater in high-risk areas. It can. It can. But again, why are we buying a house in a flood zone? Like that doesn't make any sense. Because why? Why are you paying $1,000 a year for flood insurance? Like, you could use that for equity in your home. Now you could say this, watch this, watch what I'm going to do now. Because I've been in the business for a long time. I had a buyer one time buy a house. House wasn't in the flood zone. Okay. A year later, FEMA comes back and redraws the map. And now all of a sudden the person that had bought the house is in a flood zone through no fault of their own. They didn't redraw the map. They didn't ask for a redraw of the map. FEMA just did that on its own. That was a bad deal. That was a bad deal. Did I know that they were going to? No, I didn't know that somebody would redraw a map. And then they were required, their insurance required them to get flood insurance. Then the guy that bought the house was an attorney, and he's like, I'm going to sue the hell out of people. They didn't try to sue us because, again, what in the world? Anyway, it says last October, FEMA revamped its program to more accurately assess flood risk, causing insurance premiums for some coastal properties to rise $4,000 or $5,000 annually, up for $700 or $800. Okay, but look, no offense. In the United States right now, what would be the cheapest oceanfront property you could get? And I'm talking about anywhere. Do you think there's any place you could get oceanfront property, a home, let's say a single family home, not a condo, for less than $300,000 anywhere? These hikes may be prohibitively expensive for lower income families or retirees, especially who may be living in a property inherited from family. Now let's just walk ourselves through this. Lower income families living on the beach, retirees, like you didn't plan your retirement, you're living in a beach house, especially those who may be living in a property inherited from family. Let me get this straight. Your dad left you a beach house and you're complaining about the insurance. These family houses have been around forever and they may not have a mortgage, so flood insurance may not be required, but they could have it anyway. You don't even have a mortgage on the house. That's crazy. It says, although wildfires are covered as part of the standard homeowners insurance coverage, policy premiums in fire-prone areas have also become more costly. The home insurer is looking to price the policy to reflect the risk. That makes sense. If a house is more expensive and you're in an area of fire damage, I mean, okay. It says, for example, premiums rose by nearly 10% in California, according to Policy Genius. It looks like Policy Genius is getting a lot of free press in this article. Might want to keep that in mind. Anyway, with the increase in costly wildfires partly to blame. Bill Parrott, an Austin-based CFP president and CEO of Parrott Wealth Management, also has seen rising premiums in high-risk regions. If you move to an area that's prone to wildfires or flooding, that cost goes up dramatically because the carrier is passing it on the consumer. That's a big expense for a lot of people. But what are you doing buying a house in a flooding area? It should be expensive because you shouldn't be doing it. Nationwide, at least 10 million properties may have major and extreme wildfire risk. Okay. Says how to reduce premiums in high-risk areas. Okay. How do you do that? Well, first of all, don't do it. Then you don't have to worry about it. It says regardless of where you live, that's not true. It's critical to do your homework before purchasing a property. Before making an offer, you can use tools like Climate Check, a risk factor to measure long-term climate risk for the property. Again, I think they're using climate change differently than what I see as climate change. It seems like they're just talking about weather incidents. You know, like a wildfire incident is not a climate issue. It's the fact that there's a fire. Am I wrong? It says current homeowners may ask their insurance provider about discounts for taking steps to mitigate possible damage from climate events, such as storm-proofing your home. You may also save money by shopping around and bundling in a home and auto policies. Home insurance is no longer a set and forget type of thing. And if you have significant emergency savings, you maybe consider lowering your premiums by increasing your deductible. Well, that's just, let's talk about this for just one moment more. Okay. And I'm actually going to get out of it and just go. Sorry about that. I hit the wrong button. Just going back to me. I'm going to get rid of this. Okay. Look, we had a podcast one time about a guy in California who happened to be part of some organization that talks about wildfires and tries to help explain like the wildfires that are happening shouldn't be happening because they're not doing a good job taking care of them. But anyway, he had his insurance policy denied for renewal. And it was because a neighbor who didn't even live at the property had high grass. This was in California in the mountains. And they're like, you know, the insurance company drove by or something and said, you know, that your neighbor has high grass and now you will not get an insurance policy because of that. And he's like, it's not my property. How can you not insure me based on somebody else's property? And they're like, we're not interested in describing this to you. We've already dropped you as a client. So just kind of kindly go away. Oh, that was kind of harsh at the time. I still think it's kind of harsh. Was that because of climate change? I don't know. It's because the insurance company doesn't want to pay out if there's a fire. There's a reason why Warren Buffett made his money in insurance. It's not because he was the most benevolent payout of disasters. I thought that was a weird article. I don't know if you guys see it the way I do. Like, I mean, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez says we have like 12 years to live, and that was like 4 years ago. I remember when I was a kid, they had this thing like in 1980, we were going to run out of food. People like to predict doom and gloom. I've told you this story. When I was in 7th grade or 6th grade, a future teller got on the news and said that there was going to be an earthquake in St. Louis. And so at our schools, they built, to solve the problem, they gave us an earthquake bucket. It had rope and it had flares, so that when there was an earthquake, that we would be prepared with rope and flares. I don't understand. And by the way, like that was, 20, 30 years ago. And now what did they do with the buckets? It's as if they're not worried that an earthquake's going to happen again, or they just realized how dumb that really was. I don't know. So we've had a good show tonight. If you've checked in, thank you. I don't know if I've been throttled. I really don't. But I felt it important to talk about those topics. I hope that you gleaned something. I'm going to head on out. I'm actually going to go to bed. It's 10:43 Central Time, and I'm tired. I've had a long day, and I've got to show houses tomorrow. Thank you for, and by the way, I got bit by mosquitoes or something when I was outside today, so that's not good. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. I will catch you on the next one later.